I love sea bass. No, you don't get it. I really love sea bass. And I've eaten it a bunch of different ways, but I've never had the opportunity to sit and think, what's the best way to cook this so that it tastes the best? Until today, of course, I want to try to figure out what's the most amazing cooking procedure that makes the best sea bass. That's the goal. And I want to make this an even playing field, so I'm comparing apples to apples. But I also want to take it to the next level, so I'm not going to serve it up with a simple sauce. No, I'm going to do it Mediterranean style. You know, all that goodness, the tomatoes, the roasted bell peppers, the herbs, all that, the olives. Yes, all of that. We're going to make it really quick, though, okay? Let's start by prepping it up.
We want to thinly slice up one shallot. Slice off the end, slice in half, remove the outside peel, and then thinly slice or julienne it. Set it to the side in a bowl. Next, I have 3 garlic cloves, and I still can't find my dang garlic press, so give them a smash and then finely mince them. Set them to the side in a different bowl. And now I have 10 each. Kalamata and Frescotrano olives. We're just going to slice them in half. Now I have 2 roasted red bell peppers. I'm slicing them in half because they're a little bit big, and then I'm going to julienne them from there. Set them to the side, and now I have 15, or you could use 20, cherry tomatoes. Simply going to slice those in half as well. Last but not least, I have 1 pound of baby potatoes, golden Yukons and reds. Now it's time to cook. We're going to take those potatoes over to a large frying pan, add in 3 tablespoons of olive oil, turn the heat to high. Once it smokes, we're going to add those potatoes in there. We're just going to give them a quick toss, cook it for maybe only 2 to 3 minutes. Remember, these potatoes are small, they're going to cook quick. Now let's add in the shallots, give them a toss for another minute. You can start to see they're golden brown at this point. Now we're going to add in our finely minced garlic, followed up by adding in our olives. Next, our roasted red bell peppers. And then, of course, last but not least, our tomatoes. We're going to saute this together for about 2 minutes. We're about medium-high heat at this point. And now what I'm going to do is deglaze with a half cup of white wine. This is going to add a lot of flavor here. Mix all of those ingredients together. Cook for a further 1 to 2 minutes. Then we want to season it well with salt and fresh cracked black pepper. Give it a stir until everything's combined, and then once we're ready to serve it, we're going to finish it with 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped basil.
We're just going to set this to the side, and don't worry, it's going to stay warm. This is a nice hearty base. It will hold because the sea bass is going to cook really, really quickly. Speaking of sea bass,
I have 2 pounds of fresh skin-on Chilean sea bass. Chilean sea bass is buttery, melt in your mouth, slightly sweet, firm fish that goes great with so many different things. Now, in order to prep it up, there are some bones that run straight through. Now, some sites say you can use tweezers and pull them right out. No, they're way too big. What I recommend doing is simply cutting around. They run straight through the middle, so slice on one side. You can feel them with your fingers on the other side as well. And then with the other side, just slice it off. Yes, you will lose some of the meat, but that's just the cost of eating sea bass.
and just in case you missed it, we're going to keep the skin on there. It's going to help keep shape, also help make sure it's moist and tender. I definitely recommend doing it. When I think of sea bass, I have to go back to the year 2000 in culinary school. We used to serve up dinner at the school restaurant called La Cole. I don't remember who came up with the dish, but it was sea bass with a simple beurre blanc and then something called a blueberry gastrique, which is really just like a sweet blueberry sauce. So you get this nice lemony taste from the beurre blanc and that sweet from the blueberry. It was incredible. I will never forget that as long as I live. And I think that's where my love for sea bass started. Okay, now for the cooking methods. Here's the first one.
We are going to grill this to perfection, but what we first need to do is pat it dry on both sides very well with paper towels. You must do this because seafood always likes to stick to things, especially a hot grill. At this point, we're going to add on 2 tablespoons of oil, then use some tongs. I want to coat it around. Make sure it is completely coated in that oil. We're going to season it well on both sides with salt and with fresh cracked black pepper. Yes, even the side with the skin. Now, we're going outside to a grill. It is very hot, in between 500 and 600 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to take in between 4 and 5 minutes per side for this to cook. A good way to know when it's ready to flip: if you can't pull it away from the grill, it needs more time. It's still sticking. So after that time, that 5 to 6 minute period, give it a flip. Got some nice grill marks, still intact, perfect. At the end, I'm just going to brush it with a little bit of unsalted butter, add a little bit of fat and flavor to this. And then at this point, we're just going to remove it to the grill. We let it rest for 1 to 2 minutes before serving it up.
Now it's looking good. Got some nice grill marks on there. Okay, here's the next one.
Pan-searing is definitely an art when it comes to cooking fish. Be sure to pat it dry just like in the last one. Season it on both sides with salt and pepper. We're going over to a large saute or frying pan. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of oil. Turn the heat to high. Once it begins to lightly smoke, we are going to add our fish skin side up right to the center. Immediately turn the heat down to medium high, somewhere in between there. Add in 1 teaspoon of unsalted butter. It's going to add fat, help brown it up, and help release it from the pan. What I like to do after a minute or two is move it around all over the pan, just like in my steak au poivre video, to ensure that every square centimeter is completely golden brown. After about 5 to 6 minutes, we're going to give it a quick flip. Yep, perfect golden brown. That's exactly what I was looking for. And we're going to cook it on the other side for 5 to 6 minutes. This looks perfect. We're going to take it off and let it rest for 1 to 2 minutes before serving.
Okay, we are on to the last one. Be sure that oven is preheated to 450 degrees Fahrenheit.
We are going to bake this sea bass, and just like in the first one, we need to pat dry well on both sides. We're going to pour on 2 tablespoons of oil, make sure it's completely coated, and of course, season both sides with salt and pepper. However, this one is going into a small saute pan. If you have a non-stick pan, great. Skin side down. We're going to add on 1 tablespoon of melted unsalted butter. I want to keep the playing field as even as possible. Going to the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to take in between 12 and 15 minutes. Once it begins to break up, I usually know that it's done. This looks awesome.
You're going to put all of those fundamental techniques into practice with these 3 procedures. Now that everything's done, let's quickly plate this up.
I'm just going to divide that delicious Mediterranean base that we made in between 3 different plates, and then we're going to add on our grilled sea bass, our pan-seared, and then last but not least, our baked sea bass. And seriously, every single one of these looks absolutely delicious.
It smells ridiculous in here, so I'm not going to waste any more time. We're going to start off with the grilled sea bass. Sea bass just melts in your mouth. You get a hint of smokiness from the grill, and that little sear mark, that char mark, really adds a lot of flavor. That's really, really good. I want to try some of this base too. Regardless, you definitely need to make that. That's super good and goes really, really well with that sea bass. Okay, now we're going to try the pan-sear. Oh man. So buttery, so delicious. Right now, this is the favorite. I'm not sure if it's the butter we put in the pan, that crispness on the outside. It's moist, it's tender. That one's the winner so far. Let's get to the baked. Falls apart. Dang. I mean, that one is super moist. Doesn't have that nice sear on the outside, but it's tender. I'm guessing the oven that keeps a lot of moisture in there. That's really good. All right. You know the rules. Decision time. This is a tough one. I'm going to go with the pan-sear. I think that crispness on the outside, that nice brown sear mark, just takes it to the next level. Second place, baked. Last place, grilled. Sorry, grill. Sorry, barbecue fans out there. Pan-sear is where it's at today. And I'm telling you right now, you have got to check out my best way to eat halibut. Honestly, this sea bass would work perfectly in all of those halibut recipes. I'll see you there.